When people think of the fall of Rome, they always think of the same scenes. Barbarians at the gates, disintegrating legions, intrigues in the palaces.
Empires are not destroyed solely by external blows. The greatest collapses often begin from within. Moreover, the force that triggers this collapse is not always glorious wars. Sometimes it is simply money itself. The fall of the Roman Empire was essentially the same. Wars, rebellions, and corruption certainly played a role. However, what truly undermined the empire was its currency, which slowly but surely lost its value. Even today, the notion that modern states can cheat with money serves as a reminder of the lessons learned by Rome.
For centuries, the backbone of the Roman economy was the silver denarius. This coin, which appeared around 201 BC, was almost pure silver and was accepted with confidence throughout the empire. Soldiers' wages, merchants' payments, the value of savings, everything depended on this coin. The denarius was not merely a medium of exchange, it was the metallic embodiment of trust in Rome. If the empire was strong, so was its currency.
Maintaining an empire comes at a great cost. Huge armies, miles of roads and aqueducts, wars along the borders. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was exhausted from fighting Germanic tribes, the Parthians in the east, and internal unrest. Expenditures increased, but revenues remained the same, and the state reached an impasse.
When taxes were insufficient, emperors resorted to an easy but dangerous solution. The amount of silver in the denarius was reduced. Initially at 95%, the silver content dropped to 50% during the reign of Caracalla and fell below 5% during the reign of Gallienus. The coin looked the same, but its value had almost disappeared. Once a heavy and valuable coin, the denarius was now nothing more than a thin silver coating over bronze. The people saw and felt this. The result was predictable: inflation.
The price of a measure of wheat suddenly began to double. Soldiers demanded higher wages, and merchants began refusing the depreciating currency, insisting on payment in gold. The people, having completely lost confidence, began to revert to a barter system. The more cheap coins the state minted, the more worthless the currency became. Increasing the volume did not restore its value. Rome was now caught in an inflationary cycle that would repeat itself many times throughout history.
This economic collapse reached its peak in the 3rd century. For nearly 50 years, the empire struggled with invasions, plague epidemics, civil wars, and economic decline. Emperors ascended the throne one after another and were assassinated within a few months. The state's financial system was shattered. Even correcting taxes had become meaningless. Farmers abandoned their land, trade came to a halt, and the state tried every kind of harsh measure from forced labor to price controls, but nothing worked.
Diocletian issued one of the harshest economic laws in history to halt the decline, the Edict on Maximum Prices. The prices of thousands of goods and services were set by the state. Those who violated the law were threatened with the death penalty. However, as long as money lost its value, fixing prices on paper served no purpose. The result? The black market exploded and the official economy collapsed.
Eventually, the Roman denarius had to be completely abandoned. The gold solidus, introduced by Constantine, provided stability in the Eastern Roman Empire for centuries. However, it was too late for the Western Empire. The decay of the currency had eaten away at the empire from within. Unable to feed its army or sustain trade, Rome had effectively begun to collapse. The collapse did not happen overnight. As the currency lost its value, the empire slowly disintegrated.
So what does this story tell us today? This: if there is no money, there is no empire.
Rome thought it could deceive its people by debasing the currency. Today, governments perpetuate the same mistake by printing money, manipulating interest rates, and inflating debt. The result is always the same. Wealth evaporates, the people pay the price, and trust collapses.
This cycle is not limited to Rome. Weimar Germany experienced the same catastrophe with hyperinflation in 1923. The price of a loaf of bread was different in the morning and in the evening. People carried their salaries in wheelbarrows, and their life savings disappeared overnight.
The same tragedy was repeated in Zimbabwe in the 2000s. Even in the most advanced economies, the Roman model still prevails. With the severing of the dollar's link to gold in 1971, the world transitioned entirely to fiat currency. Since then, money printing, debt accumulation, and inflation have been a constant shadow in our lives. Today, even though the value of money appears to be the same as before, its purchasing power is quietly disappearing. Governments market this as growth and present stock market rises as indicators of prosperity. Yet, just as in Rome, nothing has fundamentally changed. Money is eroding. Moreover, this time the collapse could affect not just one country, but the entire world. Because the economy is now global and everyone is part of the same monetary system,